So, you've got your social media strategy in place. You know what you're trying to achieve through your communications. Now, all you need to know is what to post and when to post it. Sounds to me like you need a content plan. Hi, I'm Dan Maloney, founder of AudioSolve, where I help small businesses, charities, community organisations, entrepreneurs and individuals to reach their target audience. I have many years' experience as a director of comms and engagement in the charity sector, where I've led on large and small communications campaigns. And as a freelancer, I've helped all kinds of organisations to really get their message across in their own voice to their target audience. In this video, we're going to cover how to create a content plan for your organisation. So that's going to cover how to generate content pillars, how to decide which formats of content to use, how to decide what frequency with which to post on social media, and then how to generate a content calendar for you to use within your organization. In my last video, I went over how to create a social media strategy for your organization, and you'll need a social media strategy in place in order to be able to develop a content plan. So if you haven't already watched that video, I've put a link in the description of this video. Go back, watch it, get yourself a social media strategy in place, and then you'll be in a really good position to generate a content plan. So a content plan is really important for your organization because it's the next layer down from having that strategy in place. So it helps you to turn the things you've said you want to achieve in your strategy into actionable content that really hits those aims and objectives that you set out in the strategy. It helps to keep you consistent, and it enables you to be confident about having a variety of different types of content, whilst also knowing that all of that variety is still going to hit those same goals and objectives. So the first thing that we need to get in place for your organization's content plan is content pillars. Now, content pillars will be the main themes or category that all of your content is drawn down from. The pillars should really align with the aims that you've put in your social media strategy. So for example, if your social media strategy said that one of your high-level strategic aims is to increase awareness of your brand or of your charity, then you might have a content pillar that was focused on customer testimonials or service user testimonials if you're a charity. Now, the importance of this is around creating consistency in what your content plan will become. So if you have something like that where it's customer testimonials and that's one of your pillars, that'll help you to ensure that perhaps each week you're making sure that there's one post, whether it's on various social media platforms or just on one of the platforms, that really hones in on a customer experience working with your company or a service user experience working with your charity. And that'll help you to get that messaging across around high quality service, for example. What it also does is it makes content creation itself much more easier and focused, because you're not having to come up with a brand new idea. You're setting out within these pillars that it's actually okay to repeat activity with new customer testimonials using that example. So each week, actually, you are going to have the same type of content going out. And in fact, that's a good thing. So how, I hear you asking, do you come up with content pillars for your organization or business? And the answer to this is actually relatively simple. You know your organization or business much, much better than anybody else. And you know what the things you want to get across to your target audience are. You know what you want the messages that they take away from interactions with your audience to be. So if it's around getting across that you are an expert in a particular area, then there's an obvious pillar there. You want to have posts demonstrating expertise. Service user experience, we've already talked about that with having customer testimonials, for example, as a pillar. So what I would suggest as an exercise is start super broad, have a massive brainstorming session and write down everything, all the key topics that you think your business, your organization is really about, whether it's to do with your branding, the voice of your organization, whether you want it to be fun, entertaining, informative, educational, helpful, community-based, all of those types of things, and really write everything down. And then what we want to do is pick out from that the top 3 to 5. There might be a little exercise in the middle there of trying to group some of those things together if you can, and that's okay, like to have a little bit of a broader pillar that gives you a little bit more wiggle room and leeway to come up with different types of content. But what you're looking for is 3 to 5 key things. And the great thing about this is that they can be your content pillars for a set period of time, whether it's a few months or a year. It doesn't have to be something that has to be exactly the same forever. If you're a new organization, your content pillars might be about establishing a brand. Once you've got that established, you might want to have a rethink about what you prioritize within your social media. So it's fine to say, for now, these are the top 3 to 5 things that we want to focus our content on. So finally, on content pillars, because I know that having a blank sheet of paper in front of you and getting that first idea written down is always the hardest part, here's some examples that you can perhaps take some inspiration from. So if you are a business selling a physical product, one of your pillars could be new products or most popular products. Something like that would be a good pillar that would give you a really kind of key focus area on regular content. It could be on demonstrating expertise, as I mentioned before, and showing that you are an expert in whatever it is that your business does and that people should have confidence in purchasing from you or working with you. If you're a charity, it might be something more like educating people on a particular cause. So you could have educational posts as a particular content pillar that really gives you a sort of key focus of regular content that helps you to raise awareness of a particular issue. That might be something that's in your strategy, and then it feeds down into kind of informing and educating people. Now, next up is figuring out what you want to do in terms of the format of the content that you're trying to create. I don't think I'm going to be giving you any mind-blowing information when I say there are obviously tons of different types of format, but what you really want to do in order to be strategic is be thinking about the things that you've put in your pillars, the things that are in your strategy, who and where your audience is in terms of which platforms they are using, and allow that to kind of narrow down what your focus is in types of content. So if you know that your audience is mainly going to be on Instagram and TikTok, that tells you that you need to focus on really highly visual format types, so photos, videos, and we know that there are trends within those platforms where particularly short form videos can be highly impactful. So that tells us that maybe very short videos that get a point across very quickly will be particularly effective. If your audience is on LinkedIn, then perhaps a different type of format would be much more appropriate there. Perhaps longer form, perhaps written blogs. People are much more engaged and willing to engage with longer form content, so you can adapt that content to the platform that you're looking to engage with. A particularly useful exercise to help you make some of these decisions is to go and seek out some of your competitors in the market. Maybe if you're a new business, finding some more established people in your field and have a look at what they're doing on the social media space and what's working well, perhaps what you like, what you don't like. It might be that how-to videos or memes capture a particular type of voice or narrative that you're looking to emulate, and that's really useful. Don't be too proud to go and look at what other people are doing and really kind of steal their ideas to a certain extent, because it's successful for a reason, and ultimately social media is a constantly moving feast. As we all know, the algorithms change what they respond to day in, day out. So I would actually recommend this exercise regularly, not just when you're coming up with your social media strategy and content plan, but over time. Have a look at what the market is doing, what your competitors are doing, what your audience responds to, and how that changes over time, and be ready to adapt the type of content you create and the formats that you use. So just to provide some more examples of how to think about this very practically and operationally, and in order to link it to the content pillars that we were just talking about before, if one of your pillars is a customer testimonial or customer experience, then you could hone in on either having kind of very visual infographics with quotes on, or you could have a video of a customer talking about their experience, if that's something you're able to do, and really help you to focus in on being able to decide on Instagram, this is the type of post that's going to go out under this pillar. On TikTok, this is the type of post that's going to go out under the same pillar. It might be that it's an infographic on Instagram, it might be that it's a video on TikTok. That's up to you to decide. Now, the next really, really important piece of the content planning puzzle is making decisions about the frequency with which you're planning to post across the social media platforms that you're going to use. So the most important thing here is prioritizing consistency. It's really easy to get drawn into that idea of more is better, but what you're ultimately looking for as someone trying to run an organization or run a business is a sustainable level of frequency that achieves the objectives and the aims that you've set out within your social media strategy. So it's better to set a target of posting 3 times a week across the platforms that you're using and be able to maintain that, than to have an unrealistic target of posting 20 times a week across 5 different social media platforms and then burn out in 2 weeks. Do 20 posts in your first week, do 10 posts in your second week, and by week 3 you're posting once or not at all because you just can't be bothered at all anymore. Now, there are, according to lots of experts across the internet, optimal posting frequencies on different platforms, and those are worth being aware of. So on Instagram, anywhere from 3 to 5 posts a week might be a good number. On Twitter or X, as it is now, you can get away with posting twice a day, a lot more frequently. On LinkedIn, 2 to 3 times per week for businesses seems like a decent amount to be posting in order to generate engagement. And on TikTok, up to a couple of times a day can actually be very effective, but don't get lured into the idea that you have to be posting 2 posts per day in order to effectively build an audience. You can post less frequently, of a higher quality, and still be very effective on there. But as I said before, with a lot of this, you've got to be guided by the amount of resource and capacity you have available to you to be active on social media. So depending on the size of your organization, if you're a 1-person organization, the idea of being able to manage a huge amount of frequency across social media isn't realistic and it isn't sustainable. So you need to build a strategic plan that views the amount of time that you want to spend on this kind of stuff and be able to maintain that in order to grow your business in those spaces. The key thing to take away really from this is that the quality of what you're posting is more important than the quantity. So if you're only posting 3 times a week, but that is of a super professional, high quality, then that's going to make a better impact with your target audience than 5-6 times a week, and you're rushing to develop the content. It's not very good, it's not very well thought through, and it actually gives your target audience a bad impression of the type of business or organization you are. So focus on quality, make sure the posts that you do put out are of a really, really high quality, that they really get the message that you're trying to send across, and you definitely won't be doing your business or organization or charity any harm at all. Now, the other side of building in capacity and resource to create content for your organization is that you also need to factor in time to engage with your audience on social media. So once you've posted something, you want to be able to respond, and especially if the idea of building a community or growing your brand, bringing people along with you for the journey, if that's an important thing for what you're trying to do within your social media strategy, it's also important to build in time, resource, capacity, whether that's you or the people that you work with, to be responsive on social media and really engaging with your audience. Now, the final thing I would say on this is that it's really important to use the tools that are available to you to understand whether what you're doing on social media, the types of content you're posting, the frequency, the consistency, whether it is having the effects that you need. There's loads of analytic tools out there available to you across the social media platforms themselves. They give you lots of analytics, and you can also obviously use Google Analytics and plug that into your website so that you've got a really good idea of where the traffic's coming from, if it's from particular platforms, if it's from particular types of posts, particular formats. You can then make decisions on whether you should put more energy into certain types of posting and reduce the amount of capacity that you put into other types of content. So that's really useful. Make sure you're doing that. I might do a video in the future on some of those really good analytics tools and how to really simply understand them, get best use out of them. So look out for that in the future. So the final thing I want to go through in this video is how to create and use a content calendar for your business or organization or charity. So content calendar does exactly what it sounds like it does. It's a calendar, and it allows you to map out the content that you plan to put out across social media. You can have it laid out weekly, monthly, quarterly, whatever works best for your organization. What it's really good for is obviously keeping you on schedule, knowing what's coming up, knowing what you've got the next week that you need to maybe start planning for. And it also can be really useful to map against maybe a broader organizational calendar for if you have lots of events and things like that, so you can really see where the content that you're doing should be aligning with what else is going on in the business, where there are opportunities, where there are things that you maybe need to make space for. Okay, so let's go through a very quick example of how to work up a content calendar for your business, charity, organization. For this example, I'm going to use a make-believe small business that sells a physical product. So first of all, I need to get down the content pillars and formats that I'm planning to use. You might want to do that in a table that looks something like this. So I'm going to have 5 content pillars. The first is to demonstrate expertise. The second is customer testimonials. The third is product features. The fourth is brand storytelling. And the fifth is fun in the community. So across those 5 pillars, I've selected what I think would be a range of things that would be important to my business to get out in the messaging and in the content that I create. So from being able to show that the product we create is something of significant value to our customer base, to building relationships with our customers via the fun in the community and telling our brand story. So once you've got your pillars, you need to figure out the formats in terms of what the content is going to be under each of those pillars. So this is going to really help you to narrow down what content you need to focus on creating once you've got it lined up in your calendar. So under demonstrate expertise, we're going to have two different types of content going out. So data-based infographics and how-to or tips videos. Under customer testimonials, we'll have another two. So infographics that are basically just quotes from customers, and then if we can, we're going to get customer videos so they can go on both Instagram and Facebook Reels. Under product features, we're also going to have two different types of content going out here. So a most popular product video, and also we can do something slightly different when there's a new product to make a big splash about it. Under brand storytelling, we can do a little bit more long form text with a photo perhaps on Facebook to tell a bit more of a story about the background of our business. And we can also use social media to introduce customers and our target audience to the team that works in the business. And finally, under fun in the community, we've got another two different types of content here. So videos engaging with members of the public, perhaps something out in the street where we're asking people to try our product. And also we can use stories on Instagram and Facebook to have interactive questions or quizzes, things like that, that customers or our target audience that we hope will be future customers can engage with and have fun with. So you'll notice in this example that all of the formats are based around Instagram and Facebook. I should have probably mentioned earlier that for this example, I've decided that my business is going to focus its social media activity around those two platforms. So now that you've got those pillars and the types of format firmly set out, helping you to narrow down what type of content you're looking to create across those pillars, you can start populating a content calendar. So for this example, I've laid out a monthly content calendar, and we're just going to start to fill the calendar with the different content types that we want to put out. So first of all, I'm going to decide for this business, I want every other Thursday to have a customer testimonial going out across social media. Every Tuesday, I want to be demonstrating our expertise one way or another. On the other Thursdays, I want there to be a product feature. Every other Saturday, I want to have a post that tells a story about our brand. And then I want to have quite a lot of developing that interaction with the community through the fun in the community pillar. So every other Sunday and spread sporadically throughout Wednesdays and Fridays, we're going to have either posts that are pre-recorded videos in the community or using our stories to engage with the audience. So what you end up with is a calendar that visually enables you to see whether you're getting the balance right around the things that you want to achieve through your communications. So we can see here that perhaps there's a slight bias towards fun in the community, but that's quite well balanced against demonstrating our expertise. So we've got a nice blend of that serious post that shows people kind of the value of what we're doing versus trying to really build a fun connection and show that we have a brand that is worth engaging with. Now, the way I do this is to have the actual content calendar itself be very simple. I don't want too much information on that calendar, because what I'm going to do is look at what's scheduled in the calendar and then refer back to the table earlier on that tells me what types of content I should be focusing on under each pillar. So if I know that every Tuesday I'm going to be trying to demonstrate expertise, then I can go back to the previous table and look at the 2 different formats that I'd written down for that and decide what type of content I want to work up to go out on each of those days. Now, there's lots of tools out there that you can use absolutely free to host your content calendar to keep you organized. Google Calendar is great. Lots of color coding options, get everything laid out nice, simple, different colors, set up the notifications to hit your phone in the timescale that you need them to. Asana is another one that lots of people use. Notion is a great tool that lots of people I know use. So have an investigation, see what works for you, and yeah, there's loads out there. The other main advantage of a content calendar like this is once you've laid it all out, you can see where there are opportunities to batch create content to save you time. So you can see if you've got 3, 4, 5 different sets of video content that you're planning to do over the course of a month. Maybe there's an opportunity to shoot all of that on the same day, on the same morning. If there's a bunch of customer testimonials that you're planning on putting out, you can create a template and get all the quotes ready to go and have them lined up, scheduled on social media. You don't have to think about it again. You can tick it off if you're nice and organized, and it really helps you to get ahead of the game, know what you've got coming down the line, and be on top of it and save yourself an absolute ton of time. So that's everything I wanted to go through. I think the key takeaways are focus on quality over quantity. Make sure that the content you're putting out is something you'd be proud of and something that really has an effective impact on the audience that you're looking to engage with. And make sure that it's sustainable. Try and be organized. Get that content calendar in place. Allow yourself to plan ahead as much as possible, batch create your content. That's going to serve you really well. And the final thing is to really pay attention to what's working well, what's not working well. If you can engage with some of those analytics tools, do that. But some of this stuff you can really see on the surface. If it's not engaged with well on the social media platform, you might want to try something different. But be willing to change, whether it's the pillars themselves, whether it's the format types, or whether it's the frequency with which you're posting. So I hope you found that useful. If you did, I'd really appreciate it if you give this video a like. If you could subscribe as well, that'd be amazing. And do leave a comment if there's particular topics or questions you've got that you'd like me to cover in future videos. I'd be more than happy to do that. And I'll be back soon with more useful comms related content. See you next time.